Once there were those choose your own adventure books where you had to decide what to do and then to which page you had to turn to read on. Liberated may be some kind of that in comic book form on the first thought.
Alert!
But,
Your citizen
well,
credit system account
it's
has
not.
been flagged for social non-compliance.
The story that you follow is rather linear, which is represented by the panels even more. The adventure books at least made one believe that you had all the possibilities and it really was your choice. Here we see most of the times how many pictures are there and as well mainly go through all of them. But since text is only one thing, the graphic style drags you in, and some nice optical effects really make it feel like reading a graphic novel. Very seldom you do the thing that I originally thought would be the main gameplay. That is, dialogue choices and therefore influencing the turnout somehow. But that happens rarely and more like, do you act arrogant or polite? So not that big of a thing in the end. The main gameplay is clicking to see the next picture, just like in a visual novel, but with all the dialogue read, even by different voice actors, and done very well. The music is rather atmospheric and supports the feeling of reading a living comic book. Besides this, it is running in action scenes a little bit old school Prince of Persia like, jumping over gaps, climbing ladders, or even shooting surveillance droids, or a ridiculous amount of poor guards who only do their jobs when you think about it. Then you put a box somewhere, or play minigames like Mastermind, the pipe game, or do QuickTime events with your WASD keys. The story itself revolves around a dystopian future where cameras are omnipresent and you are an open book to the state. But then you find yourself in a starting uproar against those methods and the hope to liberate the people, and later you're on the other side. Cause, like in a cheap B-movie, perspectives change too often to get really familiar with characters, mainly because they die. It's grey, dark, rainy, and the main gameplay is action-driven, but then normally not that long that it overtakes the whole setting, at least in the first issues. Mainly, you read or listen to the dialogue or watch the clips that are nicely integrated. The story is somehow well-known, feels like vendetta at some times, only the mask of the leader is different. This is a nice game in between, something you can play like you might read a comic. You enjoy the graphics, the design choices, accept the rather simple story and gameplay in this case, and then you move on to the next thing. But, and this really breaks a deal for me sometimes, the saving system is not subpar, it is utter bullshit. It saves some time, but I do not really know when. This includes bigger action scenes, and finishing them, even getting to the next picture, does not save your game. And next time, you maybe have to do this all over again for more than 5 minutes. It's just killing it. Cause in the end, this means that you have to play each chapter in one take, or accept the fact that you will have to replay parts of it. And being a rather casual game, this is a thing that's totally against the basic concept of this kind of games. So, if you do not have always up to 1 hour for a chapter of a casual game, you might just leave it if you don't want to do several minutes again the next time. But if you go on taking your time with it, you might finish the game, including the 2 very short DLCs in 4.5 hours or less. But in the end, the regular ending is rather frustrating because it's not a real end in any way, and the 2 additional DLCs that are very short are feeling still unfinished in the end. Of course, there is no revelation and nothing is fulfilled. It feels more as there were to be other DLCs or regular content, but the studio is maybe now working on something else. So as a conclusion, I like the basic looks. The idea of a graphic novel even went along with the fact that the main gameplay is not dialogue choices but action scenes, but then felt a little underwhelmed by the ending that we have now after the first DLC pack. Like, nothing is achieved and it is still going on, making this game not possible to finish somehow. If you're not an achievement hunter, there is no reason to play it again. And I would have liked the developers to finish it for good instead of working on something else, cause now, after 4 years, I don't think that it will ever be resolved properly. For nearly $20, this is simply not enough that is offered. If you get it on sale and don't expect a more adventure-like game and a satisfying ending, this is a nice experience out of the graphic style, the simple but high adrenaline action scenes, and the novelty of playing a living comic book.